Moses Mike Pipsqueak Johnson of Grinder Lore and Fair. He starts when he speaks to Congress or to the press with Christian washing. And this is something that MAGA uses more and more of. You see these women that have the cross around their neck. You see them refer to the Lord. And Mike Johnson is the one that does this all the time. This is Christian signaling. The right accuses the left of virtue signaling. It's not even comparable to the Christian signaling that Mike does. Here's Mike, little pipsqueak, starting off his speech to Congress with a little prayer. Play the clip.
Comforted by this passage in the Psalms, the Old Testament, the Christian Old Testament, but this is the Psalm of the Jewish people, the Psalm of David, Psalm 37. And it says, commit your way to the Lord, trust in him, and he will do this. I'll read it to you.
Okay. I'm going to spare you guys the Bible verse because first and foremost, Kylie, leave him up there. His cheeks look pretty blushed. And he seems, I have felt like since that guy on TikTok has said that he had Grindr profile, I have felt like he looked a little bit embarrassed out in public. I think he knows because that went viral. He knows that we all know that he does this shit. He Christian signals and he rolls out his Bible before he does the devil's dirtiest of work. And then after he does the devil's dirtiest of work, then he goes on Grindr and he does gay stuff with gay people that he advocates for legislation that legalizes bigotry and the erosion of civil rights against them. And then he wants to fetishize them at night. He is the worst of the worst. So after he goes on his little Bible thump there, which reminds you separation of church and state, right, but whatevs, he goes now to talk about furloughed employees, you guys, government employees not getting paid. And this is right after he did the Bible thump. Play the clip.
It is true that in previous shutdowns, many or most of them have been paid for the time that they were furloughed. But there is new legal analysis. I don't know the details. I just saw a headline this morning. I'm not read in on it, and I haven't spoken to the White House about it. But there are some legal analysts who are saying that that may not be appropriate or necessary.
All right, what a dick. First of all, I believe that he has talked to Trump about it because during this exact same time, Trump is in the Oval Office for Dementia Hour with Donnie and the Canadian Prime Minister, and he was saying the exact same thing. They coordinate their messaging and then they start disseminating it through the cult. So this is a coordinated thing. And the brazen cruelty and unfairness that this authoritarian regime does is on par with all of the other authoritarian regimes. I think what surprises me the most is that Republicans that aren't fully in the cult are not standing up for their fellow citizens. That's really the grossest part for me.
Well, and Trump said straight up, Democrats, like he is going to handpick who gets pay under his new structure. But here's my thing. Never in my lifetime did I think that a president of the United States and the Speaker of the House would be so excited and be able to rub in people's faces, hardworking American civil servants, that they're not going to get paid. And next week, the military won't get paid. But you know who's going to continue to get paid throughout this entire shutdown? Every member of Congress. I think that should change. These fuckers need to pay a price too.
All right, next up, speaking of Moses Pipsqueak Mike Johnson, all right, he, as a side hustle, has Pray the Gay Away clinics with his wife, which is a big reveal, a window into their soul, that they think somebody's sexuality is their business and they think they're better and entitled to change other people's sexuality. It's so toxic, so codependent, so Iron Age. Well, it'll come as no surprise to you that Brian Tyler Cohen is reporting the following. The Supreme Court appears ready to side with Trump in bringing back gay conversion therapy. This practice involves physically abusing teenagers to try to turn them heterosexual, including with electric shocks and chemically induced nausea. And I want everybody to know that this doesn't happen in a vacuum. Pumps and I are from Oklahoma, and there are multiple Christian schools, and people pay money for their kids to go to these Christian schools. All parents have to sign a document saying that they oppose gay marriage. Imagine your kids in kindergarten And that's what the school, that's their moral checklist. And people sign it. They sign it. And then guess what happens? Some of these people have gay kids and they go to these hate academies and they get bullied. And the school doesn't take up for the gay kids. The school takes up for the bullies. And you don't think I'm telling you the truth. This is all over the United States of America, specifically in the Bible Belt. These schools are breeding misogyny. These schools are breeding ignorance. These schools discourage tolerance. These schools discourage acceptance. They are for-profit hate academies. And there are 4 in Oklahoma that I know of where they make the parents sign that they oppose gay marriage. It is the most enraging thing I have ever heard in my life. I remember the first time I heard it, I was furious. I'm still furious about it to this day. I cannot believe that something like this is allowed and that they operate tax-free and they are teaching kids to hate and they are teaching kids to bully and they are teaching kids to abuse gay kids. It is beyond the pale, especially when you know that Moses Mike and Lady Graham and Little Smokey and Benny Johnson, and the list goes on and on and on, act sanctimonious on the airwaves and then sign off and log into Grindr and they're eating ass all night. It is beyond the pale. And I will always, always fight hard for every gay person that lives in these horrific red states where their neighbors and their friends sign documents against their existence, their humanity, and their rights. I've been wound up about it for 20 years, and I will continue to be wound up about it until schools are not allowed to do such a ridiculously cruel and hateful and evil thing. Okay, next up, we have broadcaster buyer's remorse. So the manosphere influencers who boosted Trump are now cooling on him. And this, of course, is the Flagrant podcast. This is Theo Vaughn, Joe Rogan. I cannot even wrap my head around because I heard everything that Trump said. He said mass deportations now, fight the enemy from within. Droned on about Hannibal Lecter. We talked about Arnold Palmer's cock. We gave microphones blowjobs. None of this, nothing that he is doing is surprising to me. What is surprising for me is the Republican and Supreme Court acquiescence and capitulation to this. What's surprising to me are industry titans that are bending the knee. What's surprising to me is people like Tim Cook and Jeff Bezos and others that have made so much money in the United States of America, not standing up for their consumers. These podcasters fucking knew. They knew and they were like, oh, Trump's a wild and crazy guy. He likes the weave. And they just allowed this like testosterone wave to roll them through this. And at the end of the day, none of their bro manosphere stuff, there's nothing masculine about it. It is the weakest move on the planet. These guys have platforms of millions of listeners and they're skilled and gifted. And to think that you shield for a guy that wants to erode human rights, that wants to erode the First Amendment, to which all of these broadcasters have made lots of money. And it just is such a shame that people cannot stand in their conviction. It's probably the most off-putting thing to me as a person when people are just like, I'm Switzerland, I'm neutral, I'm a moderate. Fuck off. Like fucking believe in something. And I think these broadcasters, you know, they went and played with the devil and now they see, oh, fuck, if they're going after Jimmy Kimmel, they're going to come after me at some point too. And I don't want to say everything he wants me to say.
I got the impression when I read this article, these guys, when Trump was coming around, you know, the weave, which I've completely forgotten about, but they wanted to be able to say whatever they wanted. They wanted to slap their assistants on the ass. They thought that was fine to say the R word and the F word, and they were mad about it. And then you see the full circle of the First Amendment violations, and they don't like it. And I don't know if it's, did they were they the neutered Mark Zuckerberg and they just needed to be liberated? Or did they hate these people too? Did they want immigrants and Black people? And did they think because they have everything in the world as a white male, that because white men were not failing up as much, that it was going to be DEI problems? So I just felt like there was a lot of anger and just a lot of privilege in what they were saying, but they probably wouldn't have changed their mind, except that now the First Amendment's coming for them.
All right, let's take a quick moment to hear from our sponsor. Delete Me makes it easy, quick, and safe to remove your personal data online at a time when surveillance and data breaches are common enough to make everyone vulnerable. You guys, I recently found out that some of my personal information was online. I signed up for Delete Me, and it was fantastic. And the great thing is, it isn't just a one-time service. Delete Me is always working for you. It's constantly monitoring and removing the personal information you don't want on the internet. And the New York Times Wirecutter has named Delete Me their top pick for data removal services. So we have a special for our listeners right now. You can take control of your data and keep your private life private by signing up for Delete Me. Now at a special discount for our listeners, you can get 20% off your Delete Me plan when you go to joindeleteme.com/IHIP. Use promo code IHIP at checkout. The only way to get 20% off is to join deleteme.com/IHIP and enter the code IHIP at checkout. That's joindeleteme.com/IHIP, code IHIP. Well, and the administration used Theo Vaughn in a video for Homeland Security. And it's all fun and games until you start seeing ICE, zip tying a toddler. And, you see these horrific images of these hardworking people being, ripped away, and their kids are standing there crying. And the Steve Miller's like, oh yeah, they're Tran de Agua and blah, blah, blah. And, Tom Homan's taking, $50K in cash, and then like, fuck you, motherfuckers. I'm relieved that there is a sense of humanity somewhere, that Theo Vaughn was like, my dad was an immigrant, don't use me for this. But then my question to Theo Vaughn is, when you saw the Republican National Convention, and there's a sign that they hold up that says mass deportations now, in my mind, I knew immediately they were going to round up as many immigrants as they could and ship them out. And that's exactly what they did. And Pumps and I talked about it on the podcast. It wasn't that hard to piece this stuff together. And I think that there is this brokenness in masculinity right now where guys get to the precipice. And if you cave to all of your testosterone at one time, then it's not good. Women are a moderating factor in a lot of things. If you look at organizations that have not had women in positions of leadership, you can look at the Catholic Church. Look at all the fuckery that took place there. Look at the Ohio State wrestling team and all the fuckery that took place there. Look at the Boy Scouts. So women are a great moderating force. And so the liberation of women that started over 100 years ago and the progress that we've made can actually help make men better, but they're struggling. And the real leaders in this manosphere movement are going to be the ones that do not throw one marginalized group under the bus. Not one. And if you hear the Flagrant guys, or you hear Theo Vaughn, or you hear Joe Rogan say something dismissive like, well, I know, but the left is all about all this trans stuff. Just note to yourself that you might not know a trans person. So why the fuck do you care? That this is something that if you're picking on the most marginalized people on the planet, that is a bigger reveal about the insecurities of these type of podcasters than it is about the trans people, in my opinion. A real thought leader that is comfortable in his own masculinity would say, I'm not down with you picking on trans people. I don't like it. I don't like bullies. I don't understand it myself, but it's not my job to understand it. It's just my job to be cool with it and not be a prick. And so I think we need to call on these broadcasters to really check themselves and check their masculinity, because they celebrated a villain and they voted for a villain and they endorsed a villain. And now we're seeing, all of this evil shit. And sadly, the most marginalized people are the ones that get hit first on this. And shit's going to roll uphill and it will eventually catch up with all these guys. But the time is now to speak out. And you have to, as you listen to podcasters and you listen to politicians, and there's some people flirting with this on the Democratic side right now. If you hear them throw a group of people's rights under the bus, then that means your rights are also on the table at some point too. None of us are free until all of us are free. And you might not understand everything about the LGBTQ plus people, but they have the same rights under law and should have the same rights under law. And we should fight for them to have the same rights under the laws, because Moses Mike Johnson and all these other DL demon queens, when they get done reading their Bible, they go out and they do gay shit all night long. And all you have to do is follow the grinder outages. All right, Pumps, tell them about the book.
Okay, here we have the IT book of the fall, Life is the Lazy Susan of Shit Sandwich, pinned below in the show notes. It's a great way to support us. And you can also buy it audiobook, and Jennifer and I read it.